Hello and welcome back to We Watch TV, the podcast about the TV that we watch. I am Daniel, and this is another Supercut. For those of you that are new, a Supercut is when we take our conversations on a particular show from various different podcast episodes and cut them all together here for you to listen to in one easy podcast episode. This Supercut is all about Only Murders in the Building, Season 3. And we started our conversation in episode 30, The Flip-Flop Man.
So, I know you like talking about Star Trek a lot, and you could probably talk about it all day, but we had a premiere of another show. Season 3 of Only Murders in the Building premiered last week. We got the first 2 episodes, and then it's going to be a weekly release after that. I think, from my perspective, it's starting off about the way it usually does. Kind of the first episode sets the scene. Not quite the most exciting, where it's catching you up. Then the second episode really draws you in. The gang's back together again. So they're kind of just using that format like they do. So I think that's probably why they gave us the first 2 episodes.
It was a good idea to give us the first 2 episodes.
Agreed. I think if they had just given us the first one, you don't really get that feel of them back together, getting ready to do their podcast again, all of that. All I know is the 3 of them together. I literally said the McGonagall thing from Harry Potter, like, why is it always you 3? Because when Paul Rudd's character came, like, crashing down through the elevator again, and then it opens up, and the one lady that lives in the building just looks at him, I'm like, it's always you 3.
They took a shot at Paramount Plus, by the way.
They did.
And I thought it was... Well, so,
Yes.
Okay, so for everybody who has maybe
backstory.
just jumped onto this podcast, Paramount Plus is a notoriously terrible app.
But with
It
notoriously
has
good content.
great content.
Phenomenal
But
content.
my gosh, it's a terrible app.
It always crashes, it always
It doesn't
glitches.
work. So they take a shot at Paramount Plus, and then not 3 seconds later, Hulu crashes for us after that.
And we usually love Hulu, but it was just the situation.
Yeah, Hulu's usually rock solid for us. I don't know what happened.
The comedic element of the situation of them making that joke, and then Hulu crapped out, and then not only did Hulu crap out, when we went back to get into it,
We had to
fast
forward back to where we
for
were,
like
yeah.
5 minutes. So we've got Meryl Streep this season. She could be a suspect. Paul Rudd's character is dead, but we know we're going to see plenty of flashbacks with that. The gang's back together. Martin Short, Steve Martin, Selena Gomez. I feel like Selena's character, Mabel, she's really missing her guys. So I think they're going to try to pinpoint even the main cast again as people could, like, who done it.
Yeah, well, she's got to move out of the building, too.
I know,
which
that
I think
stinks.
leads us to, we're probably not getting season 4.
I don't think we're going to get a season 4. I haven't heard anything about it. You know, this is the type of show that does have the shtick, how long it can go on.
Yeah.
But I think she should move in with Steve Martin's character.
Well,
and they
but that
should
was
just be
the funny
friends.
part about the beginning of the episode. So, like, again, I said it at the beginning of the podcast, but spoilers, like, they pick up where they left off at the end of season 2, where Paul Rudd dies on the stage, and then they're at the party
But then he
afterwards,
comes alive again.
and he's back, and he shows up, and he wasn't, and he didn't die, and
Yeah.
because in the middle of all that, Mabel had been talking to, I forget Steve Martin or Martin Short's character's name, but they were talking.
I'm drawing Oliver.
Oliver.
Yeah.
Mabel and Oliver were talking about, hey, we should get the podcast together, but she's like, oh, but you know, it wasn't a murder in the building.
Yeah.
And so then he comes back, and it's like, oh, he's there, and so
I thought
then
that was Steve Martin's character that she was talking to about it.
I forget which one it was, but they were
One of
having
it
that
was.
conversation, and like, oh well, we can't really do the podcast because it's not a murder in
Yeah.
the building, and then somewhere at the end, they're like, after he does die, he's pushed down the elevator
and falls
shaft
through the elevator in the building.
in the building. They're like, oh well, there's a murder in the building.
I know. I thought that was a good way because I had wondered myself. I was like, it's only murders in the building. I'm like, how are they going to like work this in? Are we going to go off script? And then I thought it was hilarious how they like made him actually die in the building. Who do you think? Do you think Meryl Streep's character is the one who done it? I don't think so. She'd be the obvious choice.
She would be the obvious choice, which is why she's not it.
All I know is it's funny for me to see Meryl Streep, one of the greatest actresses of our generation, pretend to act badly
Yeah.
in a play, like in a show within a show. And you can tell that she has raw talent, but she was getting nervous, so I'm excited to see more of that. We know why Steve Martin's character and Paul Rudd's character disliked each other. They already revealed that.
Yep.
Because he was on the set of Bravos, and he got an 8-year-old Paul Rudd fired. I like how they took a shot They had like this show that Paul Rudd used to be on called like Girl Cop.
Oh, yeah.
Where he was supposed to be in high school. It was a show that like Selena's character Mabel liked to watch. And he was like, yeah, I was like a 30-year-old playing like a high schooler.
Yeah, that was funny.
Because
I
so
like
many shows do that. I feel like they do it less now. It's usually people like in their 20s. Like the cast of The Summer I Turned Pretty, they're supposed to be like high school, young college. And I think the girl that plays Belly is like 20 years old and she's playing like a 16-year-old. So that's not much of a difference. But we all know like in the 90s, early 2000s, like they would have like, look at 90210. They'd have like people like 34 years old playing like 16-year-olds. And I thought that was funny, taking a little shot at that. Girl Cop seems like it's a spinoff of probably an array of teen dramas I might have watched back in the day. But yeah, I think Only Murders 2 episodes in. There's not too much to say about it. The first episode, I'm going to say the premiere, did not really impress me that much. It wasn't bad. It was fine. But the second episode, that's where it found its footing. Everything's fallen into place, and I'm excited to see at the time of this podcast airing tonight's episode.
I agree.
The conversation continued in episode 33. Deviled eggs are not sexy.
Other shows going on that we were not able to talk about last week. Only Murders in the Building.
Yeah, this
Season
this
3.
one's a bummer, man.
It really bums me out because I love the cast. I love the first 2 seasons, but so far, and I feel like season 2 took a little bit for me to grab onto, but at this point, I was already like fully invested. So far, season 3, I have to be like, okay, well, I have to like remember like what even happened, you know? And I think part of it is the gang is not together as much. Like this is the first season where they're really separated.
That's
from
not
each
part
other.
of it. That is the whole part for me. Is the magic of this show
Is the 3 of them.
Is the 3 of them together.
Mabel, Charles, and what's Martin Short's character's name? His name escapes me at the moment.
I don't know, but yeah, that's the magic of this show for
Yeah.
me, and them being separated the way they are. Like I said, it's not that, I have enjoyed all the scenes where Meryl has been in have been great.
Oh god,
Paul
Meryl Streep,
Rudd
of course.
when he's in is great. It's great individual stuff, but it's just not all.
And I'm not bored while I'm watching it.
But it's just not weaving
not
together.
memorable.
It's not weaving together into something
Yeah.
that's catching me right now.
It's not one of those things where the episode ends and I cannot wait for the next episode to air. I'm like, oh, well, see you next week.
And I also
kind
feel
of.
like they're doing, and they did this in the other seasons, so this is maybe not a criticism of just this season, but they really were in the middle of them, like, throwing us red herrings.
Well, that's what they do. That's part of the shtick of the
But
show.
But none of them are sticking for me.
And it's less about like the podcast that they did.
Yeah.
Like, they have barely like, for me, like you said, the magic of this show is the 3 of them together. And this is the classic season of the breaking up of the band, so to speak. We know Mabel's going to have to leave the building.
Mm-hmm.
She's off hanging out with Jackson Avery from Grey's Anatomy. Who's he? He was like a cameraman, the
He was doing a
documentary
documentary on
for
Paul Rudd's character.
for Paul Rudd's character on the show. I'm sus about him.
Cobro.
100%. Are you sus about him?
Yeah, I
He's
think
one
he
of my
could be one.
suspects. I think the brother of Paul Rudd's character is a major red flag.
I think so. They haven't explored him yet.
I don't
which is
really think
another
it's.
reason
They're
to think
trying to
so.
make us think it's Meryl.
It's
I don't think
not.
it's Meryl. They were trying to make it think it's not going to be another one of Charles's like.
Well, no, they already eliminated that
girlfriends.
one.
Yeah,
So
it's just this season is. It's good. Like I'm enjoying it while I watch it, but it's not like there's a scene from season 2 where we think it's because Tina Fey, she and her character, she popped up randomly in one episode, seeming like she wanted Mabel to come work for her on her new podcast. Any scene Tina Fey's in is always good, but there was that scene last year where we're led to believe that it was actually Tina Fey that did it. And Fiona Apple's Criminal comes on.
That was great.
Amazing song, one of my favorite songs of the 90s. And it was so like, it's just one of those moments in TV. I'm like, and you and I were both like, what a way to end an episode. I haven't gotten that feeling yet from Only Murders.
I haven't gotten that feeling yet, and it.
And when the 3 of them are on screen together and they have those brief scenes, I'm suddenly sucked back in. The chemistry's there. Like Selena Gomez, she was the perfect person to cast in that role as Mabel because she works so well with those two, and they all just work so well together. And this is just a classic. And I feel like I have this issue when other shows do this, when you have the breaking up of the band, so to speak. Like I don't like it as much because I like the chemistry of everybody together. And I'm hoping at this point, how many? We're like 4 episodes
I
in.
think we're 4 episodes. Yeah.
Like, and we probably don't have that much more to go,
No.
and we don't know if we're getting a season 4. I'm hoping that like they can come together at some point.
The thing for me that always tells me that I'm not vibing with a show is when like it's a weekly release and I'm not just immediately like,
Yeah.
let's get through the day so we can watch XYZ
Yeah.
show.
It's like, oh,
And it's like, or like when we were binging Succession a couple weeks ago, and it was like, let's get through the workday so we can sit down, eat dinner,
Yeah.
and watch Succession. And I'm just not feeling that right now with this show.
and
it's
suddenly you have a
disappointing.
Tuesday problem.
Yeah,
So
I know, right? I've been complaining.
So many podcasts Daniel's complained about, been like, we need a Tuesday show. And now the only current shows that we are watching right now are both on Tuesday, Ahsoka and Only Murders.
Yeah.
And they're both short. Like, I feel like
And
Ahsoka
no-
has not been long episodes at all.
Well, it's been inconsistent. Like
Yeah.
we said, the 3rd episode of Ahsoka was like 30 minutes, but the first 2 were over 45. So I don't know what they're doing. They could have
Who
put 10 more
knows?
minutes on that. We're not back to Ahsoka, but they could have put 10 more minutes onto that Ahsoka episode.
Agree. So, do you think Only Murders is going to come around and get us maybe this week? So today the episode will air the day this podcast drops. Do you think that episode's going to be the one that suck us in, get us back on board? There's got to be something that's really got to bring the 3 of them together.
That's
because
what.
just them being
yeah.
separated, and then you don't even have the podcast shtick as much. Is just, it's not vibing. It doesn't feel the same. And they've even made meta jokes about how it's not as good. So I like it that they're self-aware. I think at one point I told you Only Murders could have been up there with one of my best shows going because I thought it was so funny and well done. And not that I don't laugh when it's on. It's a show I enjoy, but nowhere near like something I'm anticipating, like you said, to get through
for
my
sure.
day.
Yeah. So no, I'm hopeful that they'll turn it around, but they very well easily could not. Those 2.
Episode 34, Return of the King.
Speaking what murder? Speaking of murders, we have Only Murders in the building. We finished episode 6 called Ghostlight. Do you want to kick things off?
Well, I mean,
That?
finally a good episode. Like
I agree.
a really good episode.
Still doesn't compare to the first
No.
2 seasons, but best episode. of
Only
season 3.
only to by the end of the episode have the trio in a worse condition than
Yeah.
they started. This episode worked mostly because they were more together this episode than they had been all season, even though they were kind of apart at the
And
same
they
time.
even had like meta comments about that, about
Yeah.
like how they hadn't been like, who are you working? Why are you working with someone else? You showed someone else the board. So I feel like the writers are self-aware of what they're doing. But this is your classic, truly breaking up with the band, so to speak, episode. The description for it was, all roads lead the trio back to the Gooseberry Theater during a nerve-rattling thunderstorm. With Howard as their jittery guide, they track a legendary ghost who's haunted the theater for generations.
I like a good ghost story too.
Yeah, so was the ghost real?
No,
Because at first we were thinking it wasn't real because it was the one guy, but then the lights and stuff were working. Was the ghost
I
actually
think
there?
they were just playing around with it. But
Okay, I was a little fuzzy on
is
that.
the light on the stage like an actual theater thing?
I have no idea.
The ghost light or whatever?
I wasn't really a theater kid.
I mean, neither.
So I have no idea. But it was my favorite episode of the season. Let's see, I don't know his name on the show, the one that's hooking up with Selena. I just call him Jackson from Grey's Anatomy. I don't trust him.
No, not at all.
He's one of my suspects. But then I'm like, I still don't think Meryl's character is the one that killed Paul Rudd's character, but I think she's cuckoo
Yes,
for Cocoa Puffs.
she's cuckoo. I don't think she killed Paul
I
Rudd.
read a really good theory. Yeah, theory. Yeah, I can't talk today. I read a really good theory. I did read a
Good thing we're doing a podcast.
right? This is how excited I get when you just put Anakin back in my life. Sorry to go back to Ahsoka, but I read a good theory about Oliver being and I don't think they're going to make it one of the 3 leads, but some of the stuff like checked out, and they went clear back to season 1. Like where Oliver was first found in the one guy's room, like using his fireplace because they had shut off the fireplace. Like the person put in the work that like it's been
Yeah.
Oliver running the show all along, and I'm like, what? So
I mean, if they're sure this is going to be the last season, that could be an interesting way to
No.
close it out. No,
I
but
just
I don't
want
think they're gonna
Selena
go
to
that
be. And
way.
there's also things about Mabel doing it too. She's wanting to keep her, her grandpa's there with her. Episode 7, which airs tonight, says Charles finds an unexpected source.
Oh, you mean tonight is in the night this podcast goes out, not the night we're recording it. Okay, I was like,
I was
what?
wondering why you were looking at me like that. It's called Cobro. Charles finds an unexpected source for a major clue. A Broadway icon comes knocking at Oliver's door, and Mabel forms an alternate trio to pursue a lead that sheds light on Ben's Bro and Cobro history. So I'm guessing Mabel's new trio would be Jackson from Grey's Anatomy and Tina Fey's character,
Probably.
who's been wanting to form a podcast with her.
Yeah.
So how do you think? I mean, we've got 10 episodes. We just finished episode 6. Episode 7 airs tonight. So we're getting down to the wire. If you had to pick right now, who do you think the killer is?
I don't really know. I don't have
think
a
they're
working
going to do
theory.
Oliver.
I don't think it's going to be Oliver. I think it's going to be one of the new characters that's been introduced.
Yeah, same.
It's just who.
Or
Maybe
it'll
it's
be like-
multiple.
Or it'll be just a total mess around and be different, and they'll just do something different.
Yeah, who knows what they'll do.
This
I
time.
don't know. I'm not. Sometimes I'm not. I don't know if it's because my enthusiasm for this one's not as high as it has been. I just haven't been really like doing the mind tricks to try and figure out, read between the lines and figure out what they're doing here.
I mean, my whole mind has just been, why did the Vader music play after I saw my beautiful Anakin? That's just where my mind has been for a week.
Okay.
Things started to move in an upward trajectory in episode 35, Mothman Festival 2023.
You got to see your TV wife at the VMAs, though, and you also got to see her in another show that airs on Tuesday called Only Murders in the Building, Season 3.
Do you recall
With
what
Selena
episode
Gomez.
this was of this show?
I do not.
I'm really having trouble keeping track of this show this season.
Last week I was a little more organized with the episode numbers. I believe if you would like to pause, I can look it up, or you can throw in your Star Trek fact now while I find out.
I haven't continued to watch the Lower Decks yet. I'm kind of I like to let the episodes stack up a little bit because they're only like 20, 23-minute episodes. So I'm a little behind there, but I'm actually getting ready to start. I've been working my way back through the movies. And so I'm currently getting ready to start with Star Trek 4, The Voyage Home, the one with the whales, just
The
to
one with
tie
the
that
whales.
in with the whale stuff from Star Wars.
Not the same whales of the Star Wars universe, though.
No, these are real humpbacked whales.
Isn't that the mom from Seventh Heaven is in that movie,
She is
too?
in that as well, yes.
Anyway, I have our episode number now. Episode number 7, Code Bro. And I believe there are 10 episodes this season. So last week we had the breaking up of the gang, so to speak. But Oliver and... I'm always forgetting their names. Why do I always forget Steve
Martin?
Martin's character? Why do I forget the names of the characters? Oliver, Mabel... What is Steve Martin's character? Why?
What is his name? We are
Charles Hayden
Charles
Savage.
Hayden
I was
Savage.
like, we are great podcasters. Well, you know what? This is just a reflection that the season has been mid.
Yeah, it really has been.
We love the
disappointing.
cast. We love it. Obviously, you like Selena Gomez.
Hey, Mia, I'm not blind.
I thought she looked like she was wearing a mechanic outfit on the episode, and you're like, get her name out of your mouth. But Charles Hayden Savage and Oliver Putnam, they kind of apologize to each
Yeah.
other, and they're like, how should we apologize to Mabel? Should we call her? No, she'll hate that. This is another joke. They're always making jokes about what millennials, because we as millennials, do you like talking to people on the phone?
Don't call me.
Don't call me. One, I assume it's an emergency.
Do not call me. Do not call me if it's an emergency.
Yeah.
Text me.
It's like, call me. What is the parents? My dad will do this. He'll be like, Hope, call me. And then it'll be like, ask me an inane question. I'm like, what are you talking about?
Do you know how to hook this fire stick up? You think that like somebody's in the hospital or some
Yeah,
terrible
I
thing's
assume, like,
happening,
the worst
and
thing
they're like,
ever.
"Hey, the Netflix button isn't
How do
working
I
on
log
my
into
remote."
ESPN Plus?
Yeah.
Text me, call me. And they always constantly make that joke with Mabel. And then it seems like they're going to go, like, she's already been, like, we didn't see it happen, but we knew she was having to move out because her aunt's making her move out of the apartment because it was never her apartment
Right.
in the Arconia.
And she sold it.
And they go up to try to apologize to
And she's
find
not
her,
there.
and she's not there.
No.
So, and she was kind of struggling, like, 'cause she's working with, her flavor of the month, the boy, Jackson Avery from Grey's Anatomy. I don't remember what his name is in the show.
It's Jackson Avery from Grey's Anatomy.
Yeah,
It's his
that's what we're
full
just gonna
name.
call him.
Full and proper name.
Full and proper name in this place. We keep it very classy. And he's trying to get her to do like the Bloody Mabel podcast, and she ends up, and you can tell she's a little upset about it because she misses her guys. And she does go ahead and record it later, but she still, I believe she said this is Bloody Mabel with only murders in the building.
Yeah.
So I think with the episodes that we have left, they're going to eventually all make up. I hope so, because the chemistry when the three of them are on screen is so much better. It was already better just having Charles and Oliver get along more. Because we had Matthew Broderick guest star as himself.
Yep. As himself. That was great.
That he was going to take over Charles' role in Oliver's play, and apparently, like, he was like, I have all these ideas. And then he calls Mel Brooks.
Yeah, he FaceTimes Mel Brooks. And
He
Mel
was
Brooks,
actually in the episode, right? Like on the screen.
Yeah,
That
and
was,
Mel Brooks is like talking to
gotta be, like,
Oliver,
in his
and he's
90s.
like, "Did you tell him you were open to his ideas? That's a terrible idea. Never tell an actor that."
How old is Mel Brooks?
He's got to be in his 90s.
So old. So even he was on there. Meryl was not in this episode.
That's 2 episodes in a row
Yeah.
she's been out on.
So who do we think? We had more focus on his brother, apparently Paul Rudd's brother, because his character is the one that dies. That's the mystery. Was kind of jealous because Paul Rudd's character had the movie series, like, was it Code Bro? Like,
Cobro.
Cobro.
He's a bro, a cobra.
But then they have like that's why they
He
have the
turns
big
into a snake.
because they were having like an estate sale. That guy's still kind of on my list as a possible.
He's on the list, yes, for sure. He hasn't been and he has not been eliminated for the list
No.
either.
What about Meryl? Do we think we can eliminate
She's
her?
got to be on the list right
Yeah.
now. I don't think they're going to go that way, but
I don't
she
think so either.
serious. She's on
She
the
really
list.
needs to be on the list.
Because she's got the weird book at her house that Charles found,
where she
or Oliver found it.
Oliver found the book at
Yeah.
her house that had all the stuff of Paul Rudd's character in it, like clippings throughout the years. She's clearly a crazy super fan.
Yeah.
So we are getting somewhere in the mystery, and it finally felt like hearing Mabel actually, like, we finally got like the
They're finally
actual
podcasting, yes, that's
which I
which
liked.
is the shtick of the show. So.
It's just this season, like, I need the three of them to be on screen together very soon.
Yeah, I just they've taken a long time, and if let's say they get them back together this next
Yeah.
episode this week, I just don't know that it's the 3
pacing has
episodes
been
we've got
off.
left is going to be enough to save
It's
it.
been
for
very
me.
poorly paced.
Yeah,
Like,
very
and I
bad.
still laugh and I still enjoy it. Like, I'm not bored at all while I'm watching it.
No, but as soon as it's over,
Yeah.
it's like okay.
And
move
then
on with my life
I
now.
come in here to do a podcast, and I'm like a
And
deer
I'm
in the headlights,
yeah, struggling to remember.
Yeah,
what
like,
happened in
okay,
the
like, what
episode.
happened?
Yeah.
We continue to talk about Only Murders in the Building in episode 36, Simps for Sandy.
Hey, we have a lot going on right now.
We do. And you know who else has a lot going on? The trio from Only Murders in the Building.
Yeah.
We are marching right through the season. We just watched today. The episode 9 will come out, and there's 10 episodes this season, but we are going to talk about episode 8 called Sits Probe. The IMDb description was pressure mounts on the show's most critical rehearsal day, which that's Oliver's show that he's producing. A familiar official upends the case. Loretta's complex past threatens to upend everything else, and Charles must perform his number without going crazy. Best episode of the season for me for Only Murders.
For sure. For absolutely.
How it got its groove back. And you want to know why? We had more scenes of them together.
Yeah.
We
Working
did-
together.
They were working together. We learned that Loretta, that's Meryl Streep's character, we thought she had that book where she was keeping the pictures of Paul Rudd, and like she was kind of an obsessive fan, but then it's revealed that it's not. It's pictures of the brother that was in the background of all of them because she's his mommy.
She's his mother.
And he
And I think
doesn't know.
we as the watchers technically learned that fact last week, but it was revealed to the other characters this week.
We did not learn that last week. We learned that he was adopted last week.
Oh,
We
maybe
did
that's
not-
us. Maybe
yeah.
we put that together. Okay.
And then
okay.
they were coming through, and Loretta is at the beginning of the episode, and she's going through her story and talking about how she had to give up her baby when she was like 14. And we're like, and I said, didn't he say
Yeah.
that he was adopted last week?
I'm
So
sorry.
we learned that
Occasionally, I
tidbit.
forget that the people who made Stranger Things had to zoom in on a tattoo of a 1 on Vecna's arm to pound it in that was who they were talking
Yeah,
about.
Talking about a
I'm
whole
not
other
su-
show.
Yeah.
Completely unrelated.
Sorry, unrelated. But yes, great episode.
I now think there's 2 murders.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because we had Paul Rudd's character die, and then he
Well, he
came
was
back
poisoned.
to life. He was poisoned.
And then he was thrown down the elevator shaft.
And then he was thrown down the elevator shaft. who do you I no longer think Meryl Streep actually did it, because at the end of this episode she confesses, because I believe that she thinks Dickie, that's his brother's name, right?
Yes.
Her son.
That-
And she was going to give him a letter, but then I think Mabel found the letter. One of our trio found the letter.
Yeah, Mabel
So
found the letter, and
Dickie still doesn't know that
Yeah.
Meryl is his mom. Loretta's
all this
mom.
was happening as Meryl was supposed to be doing her singing part, and Mabel found the letter in her jacket, and her and Charles were back there reading it, and then the cops come in to
Yeah.
arrest Dickie, and then she confesses to murdering him.
So I think we can rule her out as one of the murderers. I really do. Do we think so at this point, since she confessed? I think at this point it would be so obvious. I think because she confessed, I think she believes that Dickie did it. So that's why I think she confessed.
I think you could be right. Yes,
And I still think Dickie could have done it, and she's still covering.
I
from
still
him.
think there's an opening for her to be truly one of the two.
Yeah, there's still an opening, but I'm not. But now it would be kind of like with circling back.
I can't remember the scene in particular because she confesses specifically to each one, and I can't remember if she says how she poisoned him, because we now know it was rat poison.
Yeah.
But I can't remember if during that scene she says I poisoned him with rat poison, or just that I poisoned him.
I
I
can't
think if
remember
all
either.
she said was I poisoned him, then I don't think she's actually the murderer. But if she says rat poison, then I think she could actually be the first of
first one,
two.
yeah.
I don't think it's either of them, though.
Or if she did do it, maybe she thought that Dickie finished the job, so she's just going to go ahead and take credit for the whole shebang.
Sure, that could be it as well.
I still think that. Okay, Hannah's told me this guy's name a million times. Jackson Avery, is it Toblerone? Toblerone.
Jackson Avery from Grey's Anatomy?
Yeah, what? We're just not going to say his
I can
name.
just hear her screaming through her headphones at us right now.
Charles Hayden Savage called him Toblerone Bar. It's like Tobert.
It's like Tolbert. Yeah, I think it's Tolbert.
It's a dumb name, so I'm not gonna. I'm sus on him, and he wasn't. He was texting with Mabel in the last episode. I don't know. I feel
agree.
like that could almost be a reach, but then this show definitely pulled the whole adoption thing out of the rear end this past episode.
They did, yes.
So, but it was the best episode. Oh, and then of course Oliver, he's had that heart issue which he's kept secret from Mabel and Charles.
So
and
he
at the
ends
end,
the episode having a heart attack.
yeah, when Loretta turns herself in, you see it ends in with him having a heart attack. We know that Mabel's living with Theo now. That's the boy from season 1.
The deaf
2.
guy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. He's just a man. We don't have to call him the deaf guy.
Well, I do, because I don't remember his name.
Okay. My friends call me
Nathan
Gay
Lane.
Nick.
Nathan Lane's son.
I just Nick, be gay. Everybody go watch New Girl. Side note. I feel like we talk about New Girl. We're going to have to one day do a New Girl rewatch on here because we reference it so much.
I guess.
The episode description for you sighing there. Are you all right there?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay, maybe you'll edit that out.
No.
I just hear a So episode 9 description, which airs tonight, says having amassed a plethora of clues, suspects, and theories, but no concrete answers about Ben's murder. Ben, Paul Rudd's character. The trio devised a peculiar method of recreating the final moments of his life. So I'm hopeful that we're going to like this one too, because when that trio's back together, that's where the gold is.
Yeah, I agree.
Everything works well.
Like, this was a good episode. I think the episode before this one was good.
Oh, and which of the Pickaway triplets did
Oh,
it?
yeah.
I just want to keep singing the song that Steve Martin, Charles Hayden
Yeah,
Savage
Steve
sings.
Martin, and
The
more
cop was
than
back?
just the cop was back
That you were
from
complaining
seasons
about
1 and
earlier?
2. More importantly than it's an earworm, is that he really knocked that out of the park.
Oh, he
too.
really did.
Like, he did a great job, and the editing team did a really great job. That whole scene where they're putting
Yeah.
that together
It was a
really
perfect
well
scene.
done. It was exactly the kind of thing you expect from this
Yes.
show from seasons 1 and 2, and so I was really happy to have
What
it
about
back.
Tina Fey? Her character showed up a little bit with her new personality and her blonde hair, trying to get Mabel to do stuff. Do we think she still could be involved in some shenanigans? I feel like we're going to see her again. They're not just going to sprinkle her in those 2 episodes without having one more appearance from her. I just don't know how it'll fit.
Maybe she had a contract for 3 seasons and they had to fit her in there somehow.
But then it wouldn't even make sense.
I don't know. It didn't seem it so far. It has not seemed to have mattered one little bit.
All put it together. So you're on board. We think 2 murderers.
I think there's 2 murderers. I think there's
Murder.
one that did the poison, and there's one that did the pushing down the elevator shaft.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure that the 2 main people in the show atmosphere of Meryl Streep's character and Dickie, I'm not sure either of them are actually responsible.
Yeah.
So, because
Sure it'll all come
they're always
together.
trying to again.
We'll have a lovely montage of it all coming
It's a
together.
10 episode season. They're not going to give us the killer in episode 7.
No,
they're
no.
not. They're not. It's
Like
regardless.
when we watched season 1, we both thought it was Theo until he got that episode, and we're like, oh, it's not Theo. We're going to
Yeah.
be wrong.
As soon as they do, they've gone to a depth on Meryl's character multiple times for her to be the
Yeah.
murderer.
Yeah.
That's
sure.
always how they show their hands, is they give you a big in depth. Unless they're going to, skirt our expectations, and maybe because there are 2 murderers, you give the first one of them up early to throw
Yeah.
everybody off.
I mean, there might just be one murder. This is just us theorizing.
There's 2.
There's 2.
That's the twist. There's 2.
For sure.
That's the twist. Because that's the twist. There's 2.
Episode 37, Go Ninja Go.
All right. So we have also been watching Only Murders in the Building and Ahsoka. So we're going to talk about those 2 shows because both of these shows are actually ending tonight. We are recording this podcast on a Sunday morning, but when you guys hear it, it's going to be Tuesday. So both of these shows are going to be having their finales. So kick us off. Which one do you want to go first with?
Well, your list says Only Murders in the Building.
Well, I mean, the way you deviate from the show notes, you never know with you. So I was just giving you a chance to shake it up.
I'm frustrated with Only Murders in the Building
Wow.
because it's back to form.
So back
And
to
I'm
form.
frustrated because why did they give us like 6 episodes of what they gave us and then going to give us, hopefully the finale is just, it lives up. The last 3 episodes are actually really good.
The last 3 episodes have been great. It's back to form. I think the show's so self-aware they even know what they're doing. They're like, oh, we're all back together. This episode gave me like season 1,
Yeah.
season 2 vibes. It was so good. We even got a Father of the Bride reference.
Yes.
As we know, Martin Short and Steve Martin are both in Father of the Bride, and they have a scene with Mabel, Selena's character, wearing the wedding dress. It was so basically, do we still think there's 2 murderers?
I do. I'm sticking with that.
I'm sticking with it too. So
That's going to be the twist.
yeah.
Is when they think they found the first murder, because they think they have, and by the episode we just watched, they think that the murderer is the producer lady.
Yeah,
but I can't remember
her
her name.
son is producing it. She's the mother of it, and she told Meryl's character in the previous episode, "We'll do anything to protect our kids."
Right.
And that's when Meryl confessed that she's like, "Oh, I'm the murderer," and then they kind of were focused on her at the beginning, and we're like, "Ooh, it
Yeah.
could be her."
And so it's going to come out in the finale at one point that she did it with the rat poison. And then they're going to say, and twist him down the elevator, but we're eventually going to find out that she didn't do the pushing down the elevator.
Yes.
I think that's how it's going to go down.
I think it will be very similar to that. I still think we're going to see Tina Fey's character one more time, and I don't know I don't think Tina Fey's character is the murderer, but
No, she's not involved.
I think probably because I haven't heard if they're doing another season of You,
No.
that maybe Mabel will go actually join her podcast.
Work
I don't
with her,
know.
and that'll be
and-
kind of the wrap up to her character
Yeah.
arc. Yeah.
But the gang's back together again. Our description for the episode, which airs this evening, is Charles, Mabel, and Oliver race to entrap the killer on opening night. As the musical thrills its Broadway audience, the trio brave further twists and turns from behind, above, and all around the stage. What about Taubert? Here you go, Hannah. Taubert. But what do we call him?
Toblerone.
What do we really call him on this?
Jackson
podcast?
Avery from Grey's
Jackson
Anatomy.
Avery from Grey's Anatomy. I still don't trust him.
I don't trust him at all. No.
I was talking to this with even my hairstylist. She watches Only Murders, and we had like a 15-minute conversation about it. And she's like, I don't trust him either. So I don't know.
He could be the elevator pusher.
He could be. He could be,
I
and maybe
think
it
he
was an
could.
accident. And maybe if he's not the murderer, I don't trust his intentions.
No, me neither.
He seems really off. I don't know. Maybe I'm just a very untrusting person. But yep, getting its groove back. I'm excited to see how the season finishes out. But I'm like you. We could have had so much more. It's to the point where I am eagerly anticipating watching the show now.
I like when, like, this is a 10 episode season, and I like having content, but let's be honest. I think they could have done this in 6 and had 6 really good episodes, as opposed to how they've done it in 10, and the first like half of the season was just kind of mid.
I think for the purpose of the story, though, they felt like they had to kind of like break the game up for the plot that they were going for.
Well, they should have done it better then because it wasn't very well executed.
It was
The
fun,
reason
though.
we come to the show is for the gang.
And I love them. They have the best chemistry.
Yep.
And we completed our conversation about Only Murders in the Building Season 3 in episode 38. We got empired.
And then we also watched Only Murders in the Building Season 3 finale, and we know we're getting to Season 4 for this one.
Yep.
So what'd you think?
It was a good finale. I liked it.
Finale.
It doesn't make up for the 5 or 6 episodes they put us through at the beginning.
The last 4 episodes of the season were back to form.
Yeah, I agree.
And what made the show good. I wish the entire season had been that way. And it's not that we didn't enjoy those first few episodes, but the groove wasn't there. We weren't like totally drawn in. I do have a special thing that I must note though, and I believe you have it in your notes.
I do. I have it
well.
written down right here.
Hannah, even the show knows that no one really can say Talbert's name because they totally made a joke about that. Mabel said, "I don't even know how to say his name," right? Or I don't even know if I can say
She
his
said,
name.
"I have a hard enough time calling him Talbert."
Talbert, yeah, Talbert.
Jackson Avery from Grey's
Jackson
Anatomy.
Avery from Grey's Anatomy. I would just like to say, though, that we were right. We were right about the 2 murderers.
Yes, we were. We had no idea who they were, but we were right that there were 2 of them.
We caught it that the one lady did the poisoning. She apparently didn't intend to fully murder
I don't
Paul
know.
Rudd's character.
Yeah, I don't know.
She's like, I gave like the dose that you could still survive of rat poisoning. And then it was her son. And we find out that was pretty much accidental, that he was basically like Paul Rudd's character Ben figured out that the guy's mother, the
Yeah.
producer's mother, laced the cookie with rat poisoning. He was like, I'm going to take your mother down with me, blah, blah, blah. And then gets pushed down the elevator shaft in Kabumi. But I want to see, I wish they would release us a version of just Oliver's play, because I believe Meryl's character and I, who it was her character within the character that she was playing in the play, the nanny, said the F word at the exact same time.
Yeah, you did. You did.
About one of the plot points, because Oliver ends up stepping in because the understudy is hopped up on pills, can't go in.
Yep.
So Oliver goes in to play the role, and what's it like? And not only did I do it, but I'm the father. And we were like, F!
Yeah, that was funny.
It was good. It was a good episode. I liked seeing opening nights. I thought at first that you and I both were thinking that towards the end, because each of the characters are going to have different opportunities to go out to LA for a little bit. Because Meryl's character,
Yeah.
she's going to do some version of Grey's Anatomy show. I can't remember.
I think that's what they were hinting at. Yeah.
And then, so that's why Oliver would be going out there. Talbert's getting a job in LA, so Mabel
Mm-hmm.
is going to go visit. And then I can't remember why Steve Martin.
I don't either. I don't
Is
think
gonna
he
go
was
out
just going to
there.
go. I think.
And they're like, well, we can't be in LA only for a little bit. And we were both like, oh, are they going to change the location and have them all at a hotel in LA and do a time jump? But then, nope, we're going to keep it in the building, because right at the very end,
As soon as Sue Sylvester showed up,
yes, Jane Lynch.
Jane Lynch. Yes.
By the
I'm
way,
sorry.
the great Jane Lynch, who plays Steve Martin's body double.
As soon as she showed up there
Charles
after the
Hayden
main,
Savage.
like after the
Sass.
climax, after the climax of the episode, I was like, huh,
Interesting.
what are they doing there? Now, I will also note for everybody listening, we watched this episode like the day after it came out.
Yes.
And so we'd already heard the news there was going to be a
Yes.
season 4. And so we already kind of
We
knew
knew that
they
they
were
were gonna
going to
set
do
something up.
something here at the end. But as soon as she came on screen, I was like, something's going to go down with her. And then she ended up getting shot in Charles's apartment.
Who we think they were probably
Targeting
trying to shoot
Charles.
Charles, because she played Charles Hayden Savage's
And she
body
had
double.
something important to talk
Yes.
to Charles about.
She's like, hey, after this, I got to talk to you about something. I think
Now, let me tell you something. Here's a finale that sets something up for the future.
knowing
that
that
I
it has a
knowing that it has a future
I don't
to go
think they
to,
knew they were going to get a
that
season
I
4, though.
appreciate because it gave us enough details that we can speculate reasonably and rationally. See, with Ahsoka, you can speculate all you want, but about what?
But they
There's a
didn't
shining
know-
mountain in the distance.
Excuse me, they didn't know that it was announced that they were getting a season 4 when
Okay,
they
fine,
filmed this.
but come on. They wrote that knowing
You
they
don't
were
think
getting it.
Star Wars fans know how to speculate? You
Yeah,
just
they do,
said.
but speculate with nothing.
Oh, like how everybody thought the guy that ended up being the wet fart was like Ezra
Right,
in the
yeah.
suit. We all
Just
thought that character was
meaningless
going to be like
speculation,
so much
meaningless
more.
speculation based off
People thought it was Darth
absolutely-
Maul, right?
Based off absolutely nothing. Okay, Only Murders has given us a new murder and reasons to think. Okay, who if we know
Can I
somebody
say my
already,
theory?
who could it be? Why would it be? Yeah, go ahead.
Well, we know that Sass is dating. What is her again? Sorry, Hannah. We don't know names. Holly from The Office, who was the villain in season
Yes.
1. We know that she is now dating. Sass is now dating her. That's who Charles was dating in season 1. She ended up being the murderer. I think that Sass might have been telling Charles, like, hey, she's got out like early or on parole or something, and that maybe she was the one that was trying to kill Charles, and that if season 4 theoretically is going to be the last season, that would be a full circle moment that they could do. That being said, you know, they could go a totally different direction. They might not even know who the murderer is at this point. What
Sure.
murder?
But it gives us ways to reasonably
speculate.
speculate versus just wildly speculate.
This is one of those shows, because I like it so much and it's so easy to watch and similar to What We Do in the Shadows, where it's just that vibe for me. Yes, even though there's serious moments, I love, keep the three together, keep that chemistry going, where they could make like 10 more seasons of this.
Yes, just
and
keep
I would
making
just
them.
enjoy watching the three of them and their shenanigans.
All-time great
and the
opening
podcast
credits.
back. I want to see their podcast fans back again.
I do too. That was missing this
That
season.
was definitely missing.
Yeah.
The fans, and
They-
I hope maybe they bring them in for season 4. Like, you guys didn't do much last time. Like, we didn't have anything to
what they
listen
do,
to.
like 2 episodes or something
yeah,
over
kinda
the course.
roast them a
So
little bit on that. Do we know where Mabel's going to live now? We know she's been staying with Theo. Has it been confirmed?
no, we have no idea. They've left that
They
completely.
kind of
open.
left that off. So, yeah, I really liked it. I'm
I
excited
did too.
for more.
They redeemed themselves, I think, enough that I'll be excited for season 4.
It was one of those things where we wanted to watch that episode the day it came out, but we were so heavy with Tuesday television
Yeah.
that we just couldn't fit it
The,
in.
the only
so we had to
downside
wait.
is the way they've set up their next season is it will limit the ability of Jane Lynch to be in the show.
Or she could be in the show even more.
I know.
With
sure,
flashbacks.
True. They're definitely
Because
going
Paul
to
Rudd's
do
character
flashbacks.
was technically dead, and he was in plenty of episodes.
Yeah.
Will Merrill make another appearance? She notoriously does not do sequels in movies, but I've really never seen Merrill in TV either.
If
so.
she doesn't, if the actress chooses
Yes.
not to, they're just going to say she's in LA doing her show that she got signed
I
for.
read an article from one of the show creators, and he said that he would even find a way to involve Paul Rudd again if he could, because they all like working together so much. So
Yeah.
he's like, anybody that wants to, come on board. Thanks for listening to this episode of We Watch TV, a podcast about the TV shows we watch. You can find more from Hope and Daniel on Instagram at We Watch TV Podcast. Drop us a line if you like the show, have a question, or a recommendation. You can find Hope on Twitter at Lil Runner and Daniel on Twitter at The Real Hobo Dan. Music for today's podcast was provided by Your Tunes from Pixabay. Artwork was created using the AI program Midjourney with prompts written by Daniel.